see. But I expect great things out of you compared to that.
All right, well, this will be quick. I'm Larry Montgomery with Etex. I appreciate the opportunity to introduce our speakers. Don't know if these guys need much of an introduction. So with that, I'll turn it over to Harlen and Pigskin Bob.
All right. All right. This was our nominee, our presentation video. Bob and I were elected East Texas Coaches Association Hall.
Scoreboard Show podcast.
Good evening, East Texas, and welcome to the Friday Night Scoreboard Show.
Time for the Pigskin.
And Gilmer's beating a pretty good center team right now, beating the fool out of them. At Cotton Patch Field in Henderson, number Tatum, 14-0.
The Friday Night Scoreboard Show.
And I wanted to hand him a Venom energy drink. Bob was like, you gotta ask the mom first. I was like, no, I don't.
Of course you get her
Bob took it out of his hand.
Yeah.
And I gave him another one. No, Gilmer, I understand you have my mom standing by.
I'm here.
All right, now, Mom, here we go. We're through. All right, you on your computer, Mom?
Yes, I'm on my laptop. I have it right here.
You see my picture? Click on it, Mom.
Okay.
Aren't I beautiful?
You are my husband.
Do you see the little icon with the webcam?
I see the webcam down in the right-hand corner.
Click on that.
All I have to do is tap. There you are.
Longview moves on. Luckett goes home. Luckett goes home. Luckett goes home. Luckett goes home.
Kicks 105.7 is taking high school football to a whole new level. Taylor and the Young Tigers taking on John Freeze and the West West Raiders.
That's our shtick.
It's evolved over the past years. You're still a rookie.
Yeah, you might be new here, but you should be used to us.
Yes. I got a text earlier tonight by the Reverend Ricky Harrington.
The Reverend Ricky Harrington.
Ricky Harrington, it's good to hear from you, brother.
You know tell us what he said?
No, he was just giving us scores, but I just like
We gotta lead into a story.
I just like to say Ricky.
Hey, real quick, I got a story. Ricky, come. Okay. Scoreboard show.
Thank you, Jefferson.
No.
Yes. Stacy, can you talk?
I can.
Pure genius.
You know what was genius? The invention of the toilet that flushes itself. Oh, amazing!
Yeah, and it pollutes the airwaves every Friday night from 8:30 to midnight.
Russell's, I guess it's a re-debut. When you go back as head coach, what do you call that?
Pulling the pigskin. They got to play mistake-free ball tonight because this
Mesquite-free football?
Yeah. Did I say mesquite?
We're trying to.
I said mistake.
We're going to play mesquite-free football.
Quick pass, alley-oop, pass him in. It's a touchdown! 6 points on the board for the New Day! Humanity! 12 seconds to go. New Day has an extra point. Great catch in the game. TJ Rogers, his third touchdown of the night. We're tied at 48. Good kicker. Andy Frazak came into the game 51 of 57. He hasn't missed tonight. For the lead, for Harlen and Bob, for all the marbles, to go to the regional final. Snap, bowl. And it's good! And it's good! Just like good brothers hitting it in! It's good! You got it, leads it. 49-48. 12 seconds to play.
I got the eye of the tiger. Dancing through the fire.
Thank you, Larry.
You guys do have a good time, don't you?
We win every Friday night. Absolutely. I'll start with a story, and then I'll tell you a little history of our show and everything, and then Bob will make you laugh here in a minute. First of all, thank you for having us. This is quite an honor. Both of my parents are Rotarians in the Houston area, so I know how important your organization is, and it is really an honor to be here. So thank you for having us. I promised a story about Scott and Jeff Traylor. Bob and I got to call the 2014 state championship game at AT&T Stadium. And 2 years before, when it was in 12, I think that's right, we showed up to carry the game, and we got the last radio booth they have at AT&T Stadium. I mean, it is in the end zone, way up. They don't put the press where the money-making seats are. So we come back in 14, show up, same deal. Oh, where are we? Oh, you're in G17. That's the Cowboys booth. Lifelong Cowboy fan, grew up listening to the Cowboys on the radio. Vern Lundquist, Brad Sham. What? Yeah, and so, I mean, this thing is half the size of this room. Beautiful TV monitors, the best seat in the house. we got to call for that game. And as I'm sure most of you know, they fell behind 25-17, 25-7?
Everybody in here.
And 12 didn't go so well either. Like, state championships aren't easy to win. Well, then the incredible comeback. And we got to call it. And we got to call it in the Dallas Cowboy booth. And they come back and win. It was just, we were so excited. And that night we were texting with Jeff, and I was congratulating him, and way to go, and I couldn't believe it, and what did you say to him at halftime, and this and that, and he's replying. Well, then I say, best coach in East Texas, with a bunch of exclamation points, okay? The next text I get back is, this is Scott Surratt on Jeff's phone. Oh. Hey, coach. You were talking about their rivals and their friends. I'm still walking that one back a little bit. He's still winning state championships. Boy, two great guys.
That's when you need FaceTime.
What the hell? They were a little heads up. Bob and I started. I'll give you a quick history. I started in the radio business 17 years ago, selling advertising. But I always grew up as a radio fan. I used to tape the Houston Rockets games on my little Panasonic tape recorder. And then when I'd go to bed, I'd put it under my pillow, and I would listen to Gene Nelson call the Rockets games on what I had taped that night. And in Houston, if the Oilers are playing, you don't get the Cowboy games, back when they had the blackout laws. Remember this? So my mom would have to turn the TV aerial towards Beaumont, and then you could get the picture, but you never get the sound. So then you listen to the Cowboy game on the radio. So I grew up as a big radio sports fan, and when I started working in the radio business as a salesman, I was looking for opportunities to get on the air. So I finally convinced my boss to let me do a 2-hour Saturday morning show on KFRO AM. This is a 1,000 watt signal, plays music of your life, and a not very good signal at that. In comparison, KYKX is 100,000 watts. This is 1,000 watts. And I would get in there on Saturday morning, and I would be prepared, and you want interaction with your listeners. If you have listeners, that would have helped. So no one would call. I never got any emails. And what I'd do is I would read fake emails to myself. I was like, oh, I got an email here. Rick from Gilmer writes, Harlen, I love your show. What do you think the Cowboys are going to do this Sunday? And I was like, well, thanks for the email, Rick. And off I'd go and talk Cowboys for a few minutes. And I'd try and get my buddies to call in, and it never worked. I got a break. I got moved up to KFRO FM. And that's 25,000 watts. Now there's actually some people out there that can hear you. So that kind of starts taking off a little bit. Well, one Saturday morning, Bob's up at the studio. And he walks in, he's at the station, he walks in, he's like, what are you doing? I was like, I do a Saturday morning show. I go, why don't you get on the air with me? And it was high school football season. I said, come on, we'll talk high school football. You know high school football. Opened up the mic. Ladies and gentlemen, we got Pigskin Bob in the studio with us. And it just, something that came out of my mouth. And as Bob will confirm, he hated the name at first. He thought I was calling him a pig. But then the next thing you know, as it starts to grow in popularity, everybody knows Pigskin Bob. That's easy to remember. And then it's the other guy. So it's Pigskin Bob and the other guy, or Pigskin Bob's friend, as we've grown and grown. So we started doing the show after Lobo games that next year. And when the Lobos would sign off, we would come in and do scores around East Texas. Had a lot of fun. We didn't make a nickel doing it. We didn't have sponsors. We just were two divorced guys who had nothing better to do on Friday night and had kind of a passion for football. The next year, as in what happens in the radio business, our stations got sold. Our big stations were sold. KYKX, and Jack FM, and The Ranch, and our Spanish station, not KFRO FM. So we lost the Lobos. That stayed with Waller Broadcasting. So it was like, I guess that's the end of that. It was fun while it lasted. And Bob and I started kicking it around. Well, what if we did it on KYKX and just not be associated with any one school? Everybody's driving home on Friday night and wants to know, did Kilgore win? Did Gilmer win? What did Marshall do? And the little schools like to hear their scores, and nobody's doing the little schools. So we just decided we would try it for one year, and we would do music and scores. And it would be a combination for 2 hours, 11 weeks. By the third week, we knew we had something. The phones would never stop ringing. People would complain they couldn't get through on the phone lines. We eventually, by the end of the season, we're not playing any music. We're just doing scores. And then we add another week, and then we add another 30 minutes, and then we add the preview show, and then we add another 30 minutes. And it just so organically grew in popularity and sponsorship, which, as I was saying, now you don't get to go where you want to go on Friday night. You go where Whataburger tells you to go, or where Patterson Nissan tells you they want you to go. So those are the games you carry. But it started to grow more and more, and we knew that we had something. And two important elements of our show I want to share. The first is when David McQueen, I'm sure everyone in here knows David, he was a sponsor of our show. And he said, you guys do such a great, and everybody listens to you, and it's never been an X's and O's show. If you're not familiar, we don't break down how many yards Tatum had in the second half, or we don't know. We take phone calls and try and make each other laugh. And I think that's important for our growth because you can get the scores anywhere now. Brad used to have to sit out in his truck with a notepad and go up and down the AM dial to get scores for us, and then he'd run in and give them to Bob. Well, now you can get the scores anywhere. So what's a 3.5 hour football score show if it's not entertaining, which is what we've always designed it to be. David McQueen had the idea and said, you ought to do something to honor people besides the football players. What if you honored a cheerleader? They work so hard, they go above and beyond, and they, unheralded. And I think his daughter was a cheerleader that year. But it was a great idea, and we kind of took it and we ran with it. David put up a $1,005 college scholarship, and we gave it away. And actually, and to my good friend David, he said he didn't want his daughter to be the cheerleader of the week from Gilmer. So we gave away the scholarship that year, and Bob works with the Made Right Company. He started talking about what if we did a student athlete and did a scholarship for a student athlete. Well, and then that leads to the drill team, and then that leads to the band, and then that leads to Tyler Junior College. They want to sponsor a scholarship, but they don't want to do any of those, so they came up with their own, Future Apache. Etex Communications. We wanted to do, last year someone said, y'all don't do anything for FFA kids. And I was like, yeah, we don't. So we call Charlie and Larry and these guys at Etex, tell them what we want to do. They've stepped up this year with a scholarship to give away for $1,005. We're up to 6 a year now. We give one away at each one of our games that we do, our game of the week. And as of 2 Thursdays ago, we've now given away 112 $1,005 college scholarships. That, you're over 100,000, and we got 6 more that we've already committed this year. Again, if the Etex check clears, that'll be 6. So that's a big part of what we do. The other part is we met a man whose son was in a car accident, and he was in a wreck on Hawkins Parkway, and he was the passenger, and his friend was driving, high school kid, and the friend was texting and driving. And he went over that hump on Hawkins Parkway. They've kind of smoothed it out a little, but it used to really be something. And he went over that, lost control of his car, and put his best friend in a wheelchair, probably forever. So his dad says, this young man, Michael, listens to you guys every Friday night, loves the Friday Night Scoreboard Show, loves to hear the Totally Awesome list, and all that. He's coming home from the hospital next week. Is there any chance you guys could come out and welcome him home? And his church had a welcome home. And so Bob and I got a football, and we signed it. We went out there and met this young man, and this was before we had teenage kids, but we knew we were fixing to have teenage kids. Now they're old. And the thought of them texting and driving is pretty scary, and this really hit home with Bob and I. And as you gain popularity and you get to do really neat stuff and go to Hawaii and go to Chicago and get nominated for awards and ratings and money and things that come with the nice part of success, you also realize if you're not giving back, what are you doing? And we have a chance in front of these kids every week. We go to a different pep rally all across East Texas every week. And we get 2,000 wristbands that say, I never text and drive. And we get them in all the different school colors. And as we travel throughout East Texas each football season, we give these out to the kids. And then we've also learned you got to give them one for their mom, because the moms are the worst. The cheerleaders and the band kids will all tell you, well, my mom texts and drive all the time. All right, well, here, take this to your mom, too. So we're trying to help the students and the moms of East Texas. And we've now given away over 20,000 I Never Text and Drive wrist bracelets, and we've had great sponsors that have helped us do that. It takes money to do fun things like that. And so that's, you know, we win every Friday night, and as you saw, we love to have fun. And most of the time, we're just trying to crack each other up or bang on each other, whichever the case may be, and hope you guys enjoy listening along while we throw some scores out there in between the jokes and the cracking up. But we really try to, we're really passionate about giving back to the East Texas community and doing things like the scholarships and speaking at things and the I Never Text and Drive campaign. Last year, we started a 1 in 4 campaign for the East Texas Food Bank. We found out 1 in 4 East Texas children don't know where their next meal's coming from. I said we can do better than that. We started a 1 in 4 program. We raise money throughout the season. We give them, last year we raised $800 just doing our little tailgate remotes. But the real thing they wanted us to do was raise awareness. So we printed up 1 in 4 t-shirts. We passed those out on our Friday nights. So Bob and I love what we do and hope to do it for a long, long time. But we really are passionate about giving back and being a part of all these great communities that football is so central to. You know, it really goes hand in hand. Gilmer's a perfect example of a community that loves their football, but is passionate about their organizations, their FFA, their Jamboree, the Scouts, all the things that are important to a great community like that. We love getting to be a part of that. So thank you for having us. Bob's going to tell you a couple stories, and if you'd like, we'll take some questions at the end. So thank you for having me. Bob?
As you can tell, he's the brains and the mouth of the group. I'm the face. I'm the pretty one out of us. As you see on your table, there's these yearbooks. Make sure you take it home with you. We put a lot of hard work into this that gives you the nature of what we do for a living and what we do in high school football, the fun, the pictures, and so forth. But there's also some research, Harlen's top 200, the top 200 kids as we go into football season. Who does he think is going to be the top kids in high school football? But he just doesn't make that up. That's from research and coaches and everybody putting in their mind and their vote. Pigskin Bob, he mentioned Pigskin Bob. That's a hard name to learn to swallow when you first get the nickname Pigskin Bob. My sister-in-law called me Thick-Skin Bob for like 4 years after that. She didn't get it. She didn't get it. But absolutely love being Pigskin Bob. Love doing the show with Harlen, the sports guy. We do have as much fun as it sounds on the radio. And one of the things, he hit upon it, but I want to share with you briefly. We go to pep rallies every Friday. Now, when was the last time any of you guys have ever been to a high school pep rally? How many years? 50. I had a 50 over there. Do I have a 51? Okay. It was a week ago since we've been to a pep rally, and we're going to Alto tomorrow. And it's so much fun to be with these kids and get to see how the kids, they're still the same today as they were 15 years ago. Kids don't really change. Their music changes, but they all still have very good hearts. And it's just fun to be around them. They really appreciate the fact that we come out and we recognize what they do. The FFA, thank you very much, Etex. The kids really love that, and we're just proud to be a part of it. One of the things that we've done, I'm not overly proud of it, but I'll share it with you anyway. There's this thing called a spirit stick. Y'all know what a spirit stick is? A pep rally, you know, so freshmen, and they make more noise than the seniors or whatever, they get the spirit stick. Every now and then, the spirit stick walks off with us. We will take it. We don't steal it. We take it back to the radio station and display it. They just think we're taking it. But we do. We have a collection of spirit sticks from high school that it's just kind of interesting, and it's something that you really don't want to be bragging about, but I'm doing it in front of the Rotarians. I'm going to be really brief because if you have some questions, we're here to take it. But we do appreciate you having us here. We love Gilmer. We love the Buckeyes. We know it's kind of a down year for the Buckeyes. Bad times don't last forever. State championships will be here next year and the year after that. Thanks for having us. Does anybody have any questions?
Who calls in the Pritchett School?
If you're not familiar with our show, there was a year I lived in Pritchett. And we thought it would be funny if Pritchett had a team. So we started making up who Pritchett would play, and my stepdad, who's my dad, he went to North Texas, and they're the Screaming Eagles. So I made him the Pritchett Screaming Eagles. And I started looking around at some of the little towns you travel through on Fridays of who they might play. Oh, Warren City. They're going to play Lodi.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to play East Mountain, right? They've never beaten East Mountain on homecoming. And you start just having a little fun with that. And after the first year, we decided, we loved doing that. Real quick, a Gilmer story. We're at the bank doing something at one of the banks here, and we're in the drive-thru. We're in our football truck. So the kid in the window knew it was us. All of a sudden he goes, "Oh, y'all are Harlen, the sports guy in Pigskin Bob. Hold on." And he comes running out the door and runs over about 4 lanes and comes in and he goes, "Guys, I just wanted to let you know, there's no Pritchett." I think someone's messing with y'all. Yeah. So we started, every year we picked a new team, a Warren City, a
Lick Skillet.
Lick Skillet last year.
There was a town called Lick Skillet at one time.
Do anybody know? Remember Lick Skillet? It's if you're leaving Carthage, headed to Shreveport, when you get to the Texas line on 79, and now it's Bethany.
Yeah.
It used to be called Lick Skillet.
Yeah.
So our fans will tune us in and want us to do different schools, and you make a schedule up for them, and you have a story. If we have time, I'll tell one of my favorite Bob stories that ties in with our fake team. And that is the East Texas Coaches Association has a Hall of Honor banquet every year in February, and we got asked to host it a couple times. And we weren't asked back after this. No. But anyway, so the first year we go, this is a nightmare, y'all. They have somebody who's going to introduce Alan Wilson, because he's being inducted, okay? So the guy gets up who was like his assistant coach or his mentor. I don't know who this guy was. But he does an hour on Alan Wilson. Well, then Alan Wilson comes up. And now Alan Wilson's going to tell you the history of Alan Wilson.
For another hour.
For another hour. And the coaches are migrating into the lobby area there at the country club. And it's just way too long. And this was the first year Bob and I got to do it. So we're getting Coach King and Coach Norton and Coach Plunk. They were kind of the grand poobahs of this deal. And we said, we can fix this. Why don't you give us the information on the coaches, and we'll write up a 2-minute introduction, right? Alan Wilson won so many games. He won a state championship. Ladies and gentlemen, Alan Wilson. That's all you got to do. Let Alan talk. Because after the beating of the intro, you don't even want to hear from Alan Wilson. So they send us the bio stuff, and we divide it up. I'll introduce this guy, you introduce that guy, and they always do like 2 coaches, an assistant coach, a referee, and a member of the media. Well, this was the voice of the Texarkana Tigers, Al Hanna, and they were celebrating the fact he had done 50 years of calling Tiger football on K whatever out of Texarkana. Well, Bob drew the lucky straw, and he got Al Hanna. So he goes through 9 pages of information. One important detail was left out. Because Bob does his introduction. He's been doing this. He started off in 1961 at this station, and then in 1942 he moved to this station, and then this, and then he found his home in Texarkana. And now, tune in this August for the 50th year of Tiger football with Al Hanna. Okay? Now, a man gets up, stands up, but this man hadn't been calling football for 50 years.
He was in his 30s.
Oops.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I'm in the back, sitting with John King and David Plunk and the principal at Hallsville. So I don't know what's going on. But David Plunk wheels around. Does Bob know he's dead? Oh, he is. I don't think
That would have been handy to know. It really would have been handy.
So all I see is a man in a suit walk to the stage, and then there's Bob with a funny look about him, and he goes over and talks to Barry Norton, who's like
Dean Martin.
Dean Martin at a roast, having a good time, and it's his country club in Texarkana. So he's kind of the real grand poobah, and he says, "Ah, don't worry about it, Bob, it's fine." So by the time Bob gets to the back of the room is dying. John King is all, "What's Bob doing introducing a dead guy?" Well, it wasn't mentioned anywhere in his bio. Now it had the years, But like it would say that you know, I almost said Jeff Surratt. Jeff Traylor at Gilmer High School, 2001 to 2015, or whatever the years were. So you don't know that's the years they were alive. So we had a good laugh, Bob's expense. There's no one who's more fun to have a good laugh with than Bob. So the next year we're rolling around what we're going to do with our fake team. And we're kicking around some ideas. This is getting you all back to the fake team each year, new fake team. So Bob went to school in Smithland, okay, outside of Jefferson. Okay, you remember Smithland? That's where he went to like elementary school.
Middle school.
Middle school. So we're going to make it Smithland. And they're going to be coached by Al Hanna. And they're going to be the grave diggers. That's how we honor him. We're not making fun.
Some would say poor taste.
We're making fun of him. We're honoring the great Al Hanna. But some of the coaches really got a kick out of this. And we would get call-ins. If you listen closely, there's Easter eggs you can find throughout our show that you have to hunt for to listen for. But some of the assistant coaches would call in Smithland scores and say that their defense was really stiffened up tonight. They really buried the East Mountain offense over there. So it got to be real fun. So each year there's a new fake school, and we pick some little town and have a story to go with the school. So listen this year for Iron Bridge. They're the Trolls, and they're undefeated so far, having a great year. And they're coached by
Jebediah Baker, the oldest football coach in the state of Texas.
Jebediah Baker came out of retirement.
Yeah.
And John Barry actually texted me 2 weeks ago, head coach at Gladewater, said, you can let your listeners know I'm leaving Gladewater. I'm going for the HC job at Iron Bridge. So then I reported it as fact that he was leaving Gladewater. I was getting texts till 1:30 in the morning. You know, coach is going, did you announce John Barry is leaving Gladewater? I said, he's headed back to Iron Bridge, coach.
I think Blakewater got some applications.
Anything else, guys? Curious about or want to hear about? Or? Well, like Bob said, I hope you'll take the magazine. Thank you so much for having us. And I appreciate what this organization does for Upshur County, Gilmer, and for the folks of this area. Thank you.
Thank you guys very much.